G'day everyone, welcome back to Cookie's Fish Room. I hope everyone is doing well. A topic which I haven't covered yet and which is really important and has been frequently asked a lot on our YouTube group is about ick. Now, ick is one of the most documented fish problems there are, and I don't like to use the term disease with it because technically it's not a disease, it's actually a parasite. And if you quarantine your fish properly and keep good parameters and stress levels low in your tank, you should never have to experience this. Now, so let's talk about prevention first. Prevention, like I just mentioned, quarantine, number one. Number two, pick out good fish when you buy them. So if you're at your LFS and you see dead fish in a tank, or you see bullying occurring in that tank, overcrowding, or there is a sick fish in there, it doesn't have to be any sort of bacteria in at all. It's just a general sickness. You see flashing, do not pick a fish from that tank because those sort of signs mean there's something wrong. Those fish are under stress and duress. When you take them home, even though you quarantine those fish, they're still not going to be 100% right. So avoid those fish. And then lastly, keep your water parameters spot on. I know it's not an easy thing to do, and I don't mean you have to test your water every single day. Personally, I only test my water probably once a month, and that's because I have a routine that I follow with my water change regimes, what I dose in the water. I know all my fish, so because my tanks aren't overstocked, I know who's in which tank. So if there's a fish missing, there's a good chance that fish has passed. I will then, undertake a larger water change or look for the fish, make sure to remove its body and try to work out what was wrong with it. So if you keep your water parameters, in the windows where they should be, not too many swings in the parameters. Also, so if your pH is going from 6 to 7, a swing in your parameters can also cause fish stress. If you remove those factors, you should have a healthy fish that's stays away from ick in particular. So we're talking about ick today. Have a look at our quarantine video. At the very start, one of the first videos I dropped, if not the first video I dropped, it does cover ick. So make sure you have a look at that and follow our quarantine process, and make sure you do that every time you get a new fish because it will remove the possibility of getting ick in future. Now, how do I know I have ick? Okay, so first telltale signs is usually the white spots. Now, make sure you know the difference between ick and epistolis because they do look a lot the same. We do have a video on epistolis. I'll tell you what epistolis is. I'm not going to go through it now because it'll just make this video too long. So differentiate, I hope I said that right, between the two. Make sure you treat for ick only if you have ick, because if you have epistolis and you're treating for ick, it will worsen the epistolis. So make sure you know the difference. So make sure you got ick. First up, get the little white bumps all over the fish. Now, that's the most obvious sign. The problem is with ick, you need to treat it and you need to treat it fast. You can't just leave it and see how it goes. The other way of telling that you've got it is flashing. So the fish will rub against, when I say flashing, it will dive against the surface and it will rub against it and come back up again. It might be a leaf, it might be the substrate, it might be the glass. So generally people get that mixed up with gill flukes. It's most likely to be ick occurring because it does tend to occur inside the gills also, and that's the fish's way of basically itching. And the last way of telling it's ick is there is a lack of eating, basically. The fish will consume less food, it will be less hungry and less active. So if you add all those things together, you've got ick and not so much epistolis. So everyone asks me straight away, how do I treat ick? And of course, that's the most important thing. So go back to the quarantine phase, and in quarantine, I always suggest having some of this stuff here. Hopefully I can get this right in there. This is the best stuff because it will treat ick and amongst all other issues that the fish could be facing at the same time. In case you do get it wrong, it's the most, it kills, basically it's the most effective against ick that I've seen. I mean, you can get Ick X and all other type of ick specific meds, but a lot of those do contain copper, and I personally don't like using copper because there's a lot of fish that are sensitive to copper. I have discus, and discus don't like it at all. Some guppies can be sensitive to copper, and a lot of invertebrates, you know, your snails and your shrimp are really sensitive to it. So I try to avoid Ick X and other type of meds now, and I'll go straight to the triple sulfur, trisulfur, the Blue Planet one. It works wonders, it works great, and it works quick. When you do spot, you know, confirm you have ick, get that fish straight into a hospital tank and any other fish that you think that may be showing signs of it. The mortality rate for ick is probably 100% if you left it untreated. So personally, I would take every single fish in that tank out of that tank, of your community tank, even if you're treating them all. Take them out and put them into a hospital tank, and this is the reason. Ick will freely swim in the water, okay? So it will attach itself to the tank walls, the tank substrate, the tank plants, and then it will then basically multiply by 1,000. You will not see this with a naked eye, but it's in the water and it's very dangerous to your fish. It can sit inside your filters and everything else. So best thing to do, and I stress this, I can't stress this more so, is to use a hospital tank when you're treating for anything. That way you can vacuum the tank on a daily basis, use the sulfur, use aquarium salt, and use heat. So raise your temperature to the max level that fish can. Depending on what fish you have will depend on what temperature you can lift the temperature to its max. Like guppies, you can go up to 28 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I am an Aussie. You know, different fish can take so much. Hill stream loaches, 23 degrees Celsius. So, and use the maximum amount of aquarium salt also that's on the packaging. And remember, the packaging has the safest that you can use. Do not go out and add more than is recommended on the packaging because it's not tested, it's not proven, and people argue that it can be done safely with guppies and brackish fish and all that sort of stuff. But there has been research put into this and it will do damage to the fish's organs. So please don't do that. Listen to the manufacturer and not to other yahoos out there who think they're smarter with their backyard experiments. Yes, so that will cover the whole life cycle of the parasite. So make sure you raise your heat, you add aquarium salt, and personally, I will get this stuff. All right, zoom in once again. Now, if you don't have it, if you're in the US or another part of the world, Sulfurplex is just as good. I haven't tried Wipeout on it yet. I have tried Sulfurplex and it works a treat. So use the Sulfurplex if you can't get yourself any of the Blue Planet stuff. That will make sure it hasn't basically got another fish to latch onto and continue that life cycle. It will just die off in that hospital aquarium. Also, it wouldn't hurt you to drop a few of those tablets inside your community tank when there's no fish in it. It will make sure that any free swimming parasites do get killed also. Anything caught in your filters have nothing to latch back onto as soon as you put that fish in there. And I personally recommend for exactly, I usually leave it probably a week after your fish has gotten rid of the parasites, the white bumps. Leave them inside the hospital tank for 1 more week. just to make sure there is nothing extra going to happen and it doesn't pop its ugly head back up again. So hopefully I've covered the whole ick life cycle, how to spot it, how to avoid getting it, how to treat it most importantly. And please don't forget to quarantine your fish and your plants. I did mention fish, but plants can also bring in parasites and bad bacteria. There has been a lot of talk about our quarantine procedures, and I've put a whole heap of pictures and videos up from members who've used it and myself, just to show you how effective it can be. And remember, the quarantine procedure for plants I'm talking about doesn't guarantee it will kill every single parasite, but it will definitely separate the parasites, worms, and bacteria from your plant into the water. So it gives you a chance to rinse it off, put it into your tank without having to worry about carrying that stuff in. Thank you once again for joining us. It's been great to see you all. It's been a while, and hopefully I will get to see you soon back here on the couch again. Bye now. Take care.